261. Okay, miu. We're speaking about matoram naslahazir by the daled minim. If the person doesn't give it back to him, so retroactively he wasn't yotzei. Now let's say you borrow it, and then you have a right to lend it out to others, and you're going to get it back to him by the end of the day. He was yotzei already, then you get it back to him by the end of the day, and all of a sudden you're going to lend it out. Well, you say, look, if he gave it to me, it's mine. So as long as I meet the condition, I have a right to lend it out, because he didn't say not to lend it out. Yeah, it's mine. I'll give him matonam naslahazir. They'll give it back to me, and ultimately I'll give it back to him. So therefore, everything, I didn't violate the condition. He tells the last person to use it, you give it back. Yotza. You understand? He's become a balabos of my esrog. I go buy myself $1,000 esrog, and he's become a yachzer. He's lending out the esrog. And so, to everybody. He says, well, you didn't tell me not to. It's matonam naslahazir. It's a right I have. Right? He says, you lend it to him, and then you return it to the original owner. No, you could put a limitation on it. You could put a limitation on it. I want it back immediately. Let's say he says, I want it back. And we said earlier, if there's an anad sadi, he's makbid, he doesn't want to give it out, even though he doesn't say that, you have to give it back immediately. Okay, so the same thing. But since he didn't say, there is no such anad sadi, so he could do all this. Let's see in Mishna Berura. El-acher, Ritzlom shegam nosen lo'odom acher esrog b'mator naslahazir. Well, lezen nosen gam l'shlishi. And the second one gives to a third one. Laz lebal rishonim yotzav la'minen harei hisnimo am nasirasa li. Lo hisa ba'atzmo labolam rishonim. He says, it was preconditioned, you give it back to me. When he meant you, he didn't mean you. The mistomah lahoya kavonis ha'kvedis ha'balim sheyuza lohem ha'chefetz. Even if he said, I'm giving it on the condition you give it back. When he said, you give it back, doesn't mean he personally has to give it back. Meaning, as long as I get back my item. Bein al yidei rishon v'al yidei boi kocho, those who were coming as a result of him giving it to them. Miu mukach l'chora midin zeh, the medekabel maton naslahazir yeshlo reshus lahasav litein l'chol mi sheyirtzeh. From here, from the mechaber, we see that if you borrow something as a matana. It's not borrowing, it's a matana. You have a right to give it out to others. Vayechi is kind to know, as long as you meet the original condition that it ultimately gets back. Mil koze bistam. That's we assume if he didn't say anything specific. But he was very specific when he gave the gift. It's for you, and I want it back right after you yotze with it. I don't want you to give it out to others. Let's say he would be very specific. He can't give it to a third party to be yotzei. And if he does, right? That's a violation of the condition. He won't even be yotzei, right? You violated the condition of the gift. It's gifted to you on one condition.
Why is that not for condition? Because I wouldn't want my answer to be like that. Why did you say that?
We said before, if there's a question you're going to lend that away, it's going to be damaged, even if he doesn't say anything. We're speaking about it's going to be returned intact. Let's say he's only give it to responsible people. Let's say you're going to give it out to 10 Rosh Hashivas, and each one's very, very careful and very considerate and very careful, right? But he said, after he says, I want you to return it to me when you finish. So we say he didn't mean exactly that. That's what we're saying. But if he's just going to lend out to anybody, people will be careless. That's already an anad sadi. We say with certainty he doesn't want you to lend it out to those kinds of people. No, because it was bought up for that reason. It was bought because it was bought. Everybody knew, right? They bought it that everybody should be yotzei. He was talking about person. Told you it's brought. It's in the mirror. They had one. They had a few hundred people in Mir Yeshiva in Shanghai. During the war, they had one esrog and lulav. One. Each bacha would take it. They weren't young students. People were in the mid-20s, mid-30s, and they still were single. They would take it, hold it for a second. They didn't even allow them to shake it. Not even to wave it. They would take it, give it right back. Because if you have 300, 400 people shaking it, By the end of the day, you don't have a lulav for the second day. And if ever, literally, for a moment, you took it and gave it right back. That's the way it was done. But it was bought for that. Otherwise, nobody could be outside. So it was understood. It's interesting. My mashgiach, Mishna Berura Succos, he was in the Shanghai, so he told me that, when they would eat, so I'm not sure if they washed every meal. They didn't have much to eat there. So they ate in the dining room. They ate together. It's not in Europe, but they would eat in their wherever they would reside. They would pay whoever they lived by, and the person would prepare food, and that person, they would eat there. But in Shanghai, they had a dining room. Everybody ate in that one dining room, like human dining room. So, you have to wait online to wash. It's a long line. So all of a sudden, a young bocher comes to the head of the line and says, I'm a Kohen. Says, V'kidashto. I heard this from my mashgiach. So, we're talking about people that are old enough almost to be your father. You tell him V'kidashto. So they said to him, first he says, do you have any proof that you're a Kohen? Right? Who are you? You know what I mean? The chutzpah that he had, they totally... That was the story in Europe, in Shanghai. Okay? Yeah. V'achal acher. They gave it to the next person on the line. Yes. But there it was understood. It was the yeshiva. It was purchased with the yeshiva funds, or somebody gave a gift to the yeshiva, and whoever was given the gift to, it was given up with that. Everybody has a right to be yotzi with that. So that means it's a mator. If you say it's mine, I'm not giving it away. Forget about it. Then you're not yotzi, because that means you're interfering with everybody else to be yotzi. This is it's matonam naslachze. Each person when he took it was matonam naslachze. V'achalache mashra afilo laharbe uvavach yuzal l'rishon below psul. Here what he says, you can only give it out as much that when you return it to the first person, it's still intact. It hasn't been invalidated. Now, v'nira deiko umdeno shemakpid shelo yitlu rabim. Let's say we could say with certainty, this person, he doesn't want it to be lent out to the public. You wanted your family to use it, you borrow it. Can I borrow it? So it's okay for your wife. It's okay for your children. But you can lend it out to the whole neighborhood. We could say with certainty, under no circumstance would he want that. Although he didn't verbalize that, because he's concerned, it could become invalidated in Rasha Elite, that he's not permitted to give it out. Others say no. The machmir, that a person says, I'm giving it to you, they argue with the machaber. Person says, I'm giving it to you. He didn't say, and you should, even if he didn't say, I want you to return it immediately. It lies within the words, I'm giving it to you means you and nobody else. Therefore, he has no permission to give it out to others. They argue with the psak, the Shulchan Aruch. It's interesting, You may give it back to me intact today, but let's say tomorrow the same thing happens. By the third day of Sukkot, there's no lulav in the stand. He's a chochem rosanola. Today, it'll come back intact. But if we repeat tomorrow, there's not going to be a lulav left. So therefore, we talk about, when you prorate something. Sometimes, you return something, they'll give you back the value prorated what's left. The same thing, the question is what's going to be left after using it on the third day. What's this esrog going to look like? Further vav. See, it's interesting. If you borrow something, shol shlom das is gazlan. You borrow something without permission, you're a thief. I said, could I borrow your pen? Then while, you have a pen, somebody said, by the way, could you lend me a pen? And you're lending somebody else a pen that you borrowed. Are you permitted to lend it out? Right? You're not. There, first of all, you don't own the pen. If you don't own the pen, you're not permitted to lend. How could I lend out somebody else's pen? Right? Yeah, definitely you can't lend it out. Unless you would say there's an alam sadi that the person wouldn't mind for another person to use the pen. But unless there's such an Anand Sadi, you can't just lend out to somebody else. I borrowed it. Borrowing is not, you don't own it. Lo yinenu b'yom rishon l'koton. Kodim shiyotzabo. You should not give the esrog and lulav to a minor on the first day, well, we'll see, on the first day of Sukkot before you were yotzei. Why? Leishakodin koneh ve'inu makne la'acher. But he can't give it back. So if you aren't yotzei, that's how you're going to be yotzei. The child acquires, the minor, and you can't. And since the first day it has to be lochem, financially you have to fully own it. It's not possible. Even physically back, but factually he hasn't transferred it back because the ownership remains with the child. Okay, let's see the Mishna Berura. Now this is very important. It becomes complicated. This becomes complicated. See, if you only hold 1 day sukkahs, okay. So let's say you live in Eretz Yisrael. So all the adults are yotzei, then you give it to the child. But if you have 2 days Yom Tif, he says, it's Sveikar Yomer. So we have to conduct itself on the second day like it's the first day. So if that's the case, you want to train, your child has reached an age, he has to be trained in mitzvah lulav. So what are you supposed to do? You give it to him. I was yotzei, but I need it for tomorrow. Because tomorrow I have to conduct myself like the first day. So what do? And we're going to see in a moment, it's not simple. Because when you give it to the child, right, let's say you give it to him, you don't transfer it to the child. What happens? It's not chinuch. Because you have to give it to him away. When he's an adult, he'll be yotzei as an adult. That means he has to own it. So let's say you have multiple minors in the family. Right, so you give it to the first minor. So what about your second child? So how does the first child give it to the second child? So again, there is no, unless you buy each one his own chinuch, his own esrog and lulav. No, but what's chinuch? Chinuch means he has to be yotzei as if he'd be an adult. If he's an adult, he doesn't own it, he's not yotzei. So what are you training him? No. If you give him 11, he thinks it's an esrog. Is he yotzei? But it's the same thing. If you don't own it, it's like a lemon. You're not doing the mitzvah properly. Well, he thinks he's doing it. It's around what he thinks. It has to be the reality that he's yotzei as if he'd be an adult. Otherwise, he's not doing the mitzvah as he should be doing it. No, so see, maybe you can't. So you're not able to give it to the child. So I'm just saying. But I'm saying if you have multiple children, you have the same problem. After the first child is yotzei, chinuch, you can't do chinuch with your second child. Let's say for second day is never a problem. I'm saying let's say you live in Israel, you have 1 day. All the adults are yotzei. Now you can start with the children. Only one child. After you pass the first child, you have a problem, right? You're not able to do chinuch any longer. So it's not so simple. You're allowing the others to use it, not only, right? Not chinuch. You should not allow children to take the lulav. You hear this? It says according to this, you shouldn't. We said you could use a lulav from the previous year as long as it's not white, right? If it has some degree of green in it, it's still kosher to lulav. So what about it was last year's lulav? Like we're going to start all over again. So no start. If last year your child was yotzei with it, so this year you have a problem. Now how do you acquire it this year, right? They're not able to transfer. To be continued.